arrest across the country. Just this afternoon, 3 people have been arrested during demonstrations in south-east London. One police officer was punched in the face but has not suffered a significant injury. The Deputy Leader of Reform UK has responded to criticism of their plans to tackle illegal immigration from the Church of England. The Archbishop of York, Steve Cottrell, is accusing the party of an isolationist, short-term, knee-jerk response to the small boat crisis. Nigel Farage has set out plans to remove 600,000 people from the country if he forms the next government. Richard Tice says the Church is wrong and that deporting people who arrive illegally is the only way to deter them.
I suggest the Archbishop focuses on the problems within the Church of England and fill the vacancy and stop worrying about things that are way beyond his remit, i.e. international immigration policies. That's the role of elected politicians.
Greta Thunberg is among hundreds of other activists setting sail to Gaza with aid supplies. The 22-year-old left Barcelona this afternoon on board one of the dozens of boats travelling to Gaza. It's her second attempt to reach the region after being detained and then deported by Israeli forces in June. The humanitarian flotilla is carrying food, baby formula and other medical products. Israel is accusing the group of a propaganda stunt in support of Hamas. Meanwhile, Israeli military claims it has killed the spokesperson of the terrorist organisation Hamas in an airstrike. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says that Abu Ubaida was the target of a joint operation carried out by the country's military and domestic intelligence service in Gaza. Hamas has not yet confirmed his death. And as millions of children return to school this week, the Education Secretary is urging parents to do more to improve attendance and behaviour. More than half of pupils who missed a day during the first week of school during September 2024 went on to be persistently absent throughout the rest of the year, missing at least 10% of lessons. 800 schools are set to be supported by school improvement schemes. Bridget Phillipson says there's a particular concern about white working-class children who have the highest absence rates.
Behaviour is a massive challenge alongside attendance. You're right that it causes disruption to the whole classroom. It stops children from learning. It's a big problem that teachers raise with me in every school I visit. It's why today we're announcing new attendance behaviour hubs with new attendance and behaviour ambassadors leading that work across schools in our country.
It's about parents, isn't it, a lot of it?
It's about all of us.
Those are the latest headlines. Now it's time for the Camila Tominey Show, which was recorded earlier today.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Good morning and welcome to the Camilla Tominey Show this week with me, Andrew Pearce. Now, Parliament is ending recess, but politics never paused, did it? Here's what's coming up on today's programme. The Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, will join me in the studio to discuss school attendance and poor pupil behaviour ahead of the new school year. From the opposition benches, I'm going to speak to the shadow chant of the Duchy of Lancaster, Alex Burkhardt MP. I'm getting his reaction to the Home Office winning its appeal against the closure of the Bell Hotel in Epping for illegal migrants. Deputy Leader of Reform UK, Richard Tice, is joining me in the studio. He's looking ahead to Reform Party conference in Birmingham, which starts on Friday. And as Sir Ed Davey, the Lib Dem leader, snubs his invite to the state banquet for Donald Trump, could Reform UK leader Nigel Farage take his place? The former Mayor of Andy Middlesbrough, Andy Preston, joins me to discuss just that. Well, significant story this week in when Ed Davey, the Lib Dem leader, decided he announced after praying to God with his wife, he's a devoted Christian, that he had decided he could not, in all honesty, attend the state banquet next month, in a few weeks' time, in fact, at Windsor Castle for the President of the United States. Well, is that the right move? And could his absence mean an opening for a certain other politician? Let's talk to the former Mayor of Middlesbrough, Andy Preston. Andy, can you tell me, first of all, how did you react when you heard that the Lib Dem leader, Ed Davey, had decided, after all, he would not be attending the state banquet when he's given a couple of interviews in the summer, one to me, where he said he most emphatically would be there if he was invited.
Hi, Andrew. First of all, I thought this was probably disrespectful. I think that when there's a big state occasion, I think it's really important that everybody who should be there is there. I think that it sends a message of cohesiveness, it sends a message that we work together, and it sends the public the right message. However, having thought about it, I think Ed Davey has played a blinder. I think that Donald Trump won't care. I don't think the King will care. It's number 10 that sends the invites, not the King. It's the number 10. It's a political invite, not a royal invite. And I think that what Ed Davey's got to do is raise his profile. I'm not sure he's done a great job so far, as Lib Dem leader, despite the fact they've got more seats. They're not increasing their vote share. So what he's got to do is get people's attention. And by doing this, he's created a controversy, Andrew. I'm talking about it. You're talking about it. Priti Patel has been talking about it. And I think there's a lot of folks on the Lib Dems. We have to remember that Donald Trump isn't a popular figure in the UK. He has huge fans, but about 70% of people view him unfavourably. So Ed Davey he's gathering a lot of strength from his own support. He's sending them a strong message that I'm not going to bow to Trump like Keir Starmer has. He's going to send a message to people who don't vote Lib Dem, and he's getting attention for him and his party. So politically, this has actually been a really strong move.
He's not done it because of tariffs, which have a direct impact, Andy, on Britain and on our steel industry and other parts of the economy. He's done it because of what's going on in Gaza. Is that the right issue in which to decide not to go to a state banquet? Because it is Israel which is prosecuting war against Hamas, a vile terrorist organisation which inflicted the worst atrocities on Israeli soil in October 2024 since the Holocaust.
Yeah, indeed. Listen, Andrew, some people do agree with Ed Davey on this and many, many don't. I have to say, call me a cynic, but I personally think that this isn't about Gaza. I think this is a political manoeuvre by him to show existing Lib Dem voters and potential new ones that he will stand up to Trump and he will benefit from this. And as I say, as a second or a third or fourth party in the UK, it's really tough to get media attention. And the controversy this has caused has been great for him, and it's been great for his party, and I think he will benefit from it. So I suspect this was a political piece of manoeuvring rather than a moral gesture. And forgive me if I'm being too cynical about politicians.
You can be cynical on this programme, Andy, because you will get quite a lot of cynicism coming from me too. This is the Camilla Tominey Show with me, Andrew Pearce, only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now, Astral, joining me in the studio is the shadow Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, Alex Burghardt MP. Alex, let's start with the verdict of the appeal court over the Bell Hotel in Epping.
Yep.
Quite clear to me, the Home Office, in fighting that appeal to overturn the injunction, which was effectively going to close down that hotel, which your lot had closed down anyway, that the Home Office was saying the rights of those illegal migrants, because they all crossed the channel illegally, trump those of people who live in Epping.
I think that's entirely right, Andrew, and that's precisely the decision that the Home Secretary has chosen to make. And I think a lot of people are very, very angry about that. You know, this is a government that came in and said that they were going to close down migrant hotels across the country. Instead, use of them is going up. And that's because they've completely dismembered the deterrent programme that we left in place. We left power, we had Rwanda. And without that, the people smugglers and the opportunists see that Britain's a soft touch and people are crossing the channel in absolutely unprecedented numbers.
I don't understand why, when you had that plane ready to go to Rwanda and an unnamed judge from the European Court of Human Rights said it can't go, the British government didn't say, get stuffed, we're putting the plane in the air. France ignores ECHR rulings all the time. Lots of countries do. Not Great Britain. We have to follow.
We're the Brits. We obey rules, right? We like cues. You know, we always try and do the right thing. But as I've always said, if the rules don't make sense, you need to change the rules.
Right.
You know, I'm all in favour of people following the rules. We've got to have the right rules.
Coruscating leader in The Spectator this week. It's now edited by Michael Gove, who, of course, was a cabinet minister for most of the 14 years of the Tory rule. And he said it's the Tory party's fault on migration because in 2019 it promised to reduce immigration. Instead, legal levels tripled. They did. At one point, legal migration to this country was 1.2 million. That's the population of Birmingham, Shadow Minister.
Yeah, that's why we're in opposition, isn't it?
Yeah, and deservedly so.
No, we understand that that went wrong. We've taken our beating from the electorate, but we also have a new team in charge now. And Kemi and Chris Philp and our colleagues have been absolutely clear that things would be very, very different if we win the next election. Chris Philp has published deportation bill, which sets out in far more detail than any other party exactly how we would solve the problem of illegal migration. We've been very clear on the need to drive legal migration right down because it's been too high for too long. You have this crazy state. I think a lot of people don't understand this, Andrew. You have this crazy situation with legal migration where there are large parts of the year doesn't know how many people are coming into the country. And you then get an update, you get an official update, which tells you whether the figures are right up or right down. Things like that have got to change. We need a modern government with much better information, much stricter rules, and an incredibly hard line on immigration.
It all sounds great, doesn't it? But nobody's listening to you lot.
No,
no one is listening to the Tories because you had 14 years. You didn't close down these migrant hotels. You didn't. They multiplied. Legal migration multiplied. illegal migration. I was just checking. In 2022, 45,000 crossed the Channel. You got a bit better in 2023, 30,000. Now, look, I'm going to talk to the Secretary of State about the woeful figures under this government.
Well, they've gotten much worse.
They have. But the fact is, you have a record of failure, which is why nobody's listening to the Tories.
We know from bitter experience just how difficult it is to change the system. But we have been spending our time in opposition incredibly wisely, making sure that we have absolute cast iron changes that would work. And that's why we're the only party that has been able to publish legislation showing how we would make the changes. We're the only party who has commissioned a top barrister to explain exactly how we can unpick the human rights legislation that has been preventing governments, including this government, from doing what is necessary in the Channel and with our wider immigration system. We're the only party that is coming up with concrete policies rather than just headline grabbers. Yeah, we know just how difficult it is to get things done in Whitehall, and we are not going to be pushed around again.
The reform is quite clear. They will take Britain out of the European Court of Human Rights. Camilla Badenoch is thinking about it. How long is it going to take her to come to a conclusion?
So we will, in the next few months, we will have a very lengthy report from one of the top KCs, one of the top barristers in the country, Lord Wolfson, very, very respected Conservative lawyer, explaining what laws we have to pass and what legal changes we have to make in order to be able to secure our borders, protect our veterans, make sure that we can prioritise local people for local services, and so on and so on and so on. No obstacle, no legal obstacle is going to hold us back. And we will be able to make a guarantee to the British people that we can do it because we are doing the homework. We're not just coming up with headlines.
What if people on the, shall we call it, liberal wing of the Conservative Party say we cannot come out of the ECHR if that is the conclusion you're going to do that? Are you willing to have Tory MPs resign from the party if that's the right thing to do?
Kemi has been very clear. We absolutely have to deliver on what the British people want to have delivered. And we will not let anything stand in our way to make sure that that happens.
Have you noticed the latest polls, or are they too horrific to talk about?
It depends which poll you're talking about.
Let's do the one in Nye last week, which gives Reform a 15-point lead over Labour and an 18-point lead over the Tories.
And you'll see. I think talking about polls 4 years out from a general election is a bit of a distraction.
If you were doing well, you'd be talking about them all the time.
No. It's a bit of a distraction from talking about the issues that people really care about. When I knock on people's doors in my constituency, no one's talking about the polls. They're talking about illegal immigration. They're talking about what's going on in Epping. They're not talking about the polls. But if you want to talk about the polls, I'll talk about the polls very briefly. Firstly, yes, look, Reform are ahead in the polls. But there was a poll, I think, a couple of weeks ago over the summer, which showed that the Conservative Party might have overtaken the Labour Party. But the fact is, these aren't. This is not an indication of how people are going to vote at the next election. There isn't an election for the next 4 years. Everything is to play for. And what all political parties need to do is show the British people exactly how they will solve these problems, rather than just promising things they can't deliver on. And that's what the Conservative Party is doing right now.
In the last month, Reform, which has 4 MPs and doesn't have the resources that the Conservative Party has totally dominated the political agenda. Every week, another press conference, Farage, Foursquare, last week dominating it again. Now, you can argue whether the detail is right or wrong. Where was the Conservative Party? Are you in hibernation?
Andrew, I've noticed that you haven't mentioned the major announcement that Kemi's made this morning.
Remind me.
OK, so, well, I'm sure you read the papers, Andrew, because you're a very smart guy, and it's running at the top of the BBC Bulletin, which is that Kemi has said that we will take every last drop of oil and gas out of the North Sea in order, and that is a major announcement, which is great for jobs in Scotland. Kemi's going to be up in Aberdeen, I think, saying a few words about this.
Is this the end of the Tory support for net zero?
Yes, I mean, Kemi gave a speech, as you remember, I think in March, saying net zero by 2050 is unachievable. There is no point in destroying British business and British jobs, chasing after something that won't happen, particularly when the US and China are not following net zero at all. We're not going to do what Labour's doing, which is sacrificing British business and British jobs on the altar of this unachievable goal. It doesn't make any sense. So, we will allow drilling in the North Sea rather than importing oil and gas from other countries as a sort of crazy loophole to get around the assessment of hydrocarbons. So I think that this is a party which is coming forward with major policies, which are a big change from what we've seen before, and you you will see a lot more of that, Andrew, in the months to come.
On net zero, what about fracking? There was a lot of support for that.
It's a very interesting subject.
And is that something that you'd consider? So, you know, America is now it's self-sufficient in energy. I appreciate they've got a lot more space. It's a very large country.
Yeah. And America has obviously gotten a lot of fracking gas out over the past 20 years and has done very well from it. And I think the thing that you have to balance here in a more densely populated country is what local communities feel like, and that I think a lot of people might like fracking if it's not on their doorstep. But if it's in their back garden, they might have a different view of it. But look, we're not saying no to anything. We're looking at everything, but always mindful about what local people want.
10 seconds. Angela Rayner, should there be an inquiry into her tax
affairs? Look, she's definitely got questions to answer, but I'll tell you what's really going on here, Andrew. This is Labour Party politicians leaking against Angela because they can see that Keir Starmer's leadership is wobbling. That this is the start of very serious political infighting within the Labour Party, and I'm afraid you're going to see a lot more of that in the months to come.
And who'd have thought that just 1 year after their landslide election victories? Alex Burkhart, Shadow Chancellor Usher Lancaster, thanks so much for joining us. Now, coming up, the Deputy Leader of Reform UK and MP for Boston and Skegness, Richard Tice, is going to join me in the studio. Of course, it's the Reform Conference, which starts on Friday. And we'll ask him also, should Nigel Farage have a seat at the state banquet? Because Ed Davey has had, in my view, a bit of a hissy fit and isn't going. This is the Camilla Tominey Show with me, Andrew Pearce, only on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Well, the week ahead is going to remain unsettled for all of us. We'll see further spells of rain and showers, and it generally will be quite breezy. So as we end the weekend, we've still got this area of low pressure close by, still tightly packed isobars, especially across parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, indicating some windy conditions here. And all in all, across many western parts of the UK, we'll see further spells of rain and showers, and the rain potentially turning quite heavy later on across parts of Scotland. We do have a warning coming into force during the early hours across southwestern Scotland, so do take some extra care if you have got some early journeys here. Across the south and east, however, generally dry and clear as we end the night, and for all of us it's a fairly mild one as we start Monday morning. So we do start off still with this area of rain across parts of Scotland. Could give a fairly tricky commute in places. There will be some sunshine across western Scotland, but further showers following on here quite quickly. And really for much of Northern Ireland and Northern England, it is going to be a morning of sunshine and showers. Similar story for Wales and the West Country, but over towards the east of England, we will start off relatively dry with some sunshine, but the cloud will bubble up here as the day goes on. And for most of the UK, really, it's going to be a day of sunny spells and scattered showers. Some of these showers will be quite heavy and potentially thundery with a risk of hail in places, but they'll be still moving through fairly quickly on a fairly brisk wind. In the sunnier moments, it won't feel too bad out there for the first day of September. We will see highs reaching around 21 or 22 degrees in a few spots. So then moving on into Tuesday, a bright start across many central and eastern parts of the country, but down towards the far southwest we see another band of rain move in. Some of this rain will be quite heavy, generally given a fairly wet afternoon across parts of England and Wales. Scotland and Northern Ireland continuing to see another day of sunshine and showers, and that unsettled regime continues into the middle of the week with temperatures around average for early September.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to the Camilla Tominey Show with me, Andrew Pearce. I'm delighted to say in the studio with me is Richard Tice, who is the Deputy Leader of Reform UK and Member of Parliament for Boston Skegness. Richard, you've got an announcement. Something big's happening. What are you talking about?
Well, tomorrow I've got a press conference.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about DOGE-related stuff for our councils. 11 o'clock. You will not want to miss that. We are finding substantial savings. We'll be talking about that tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock ahead of our conference later this week.
Now, that's a big one on Friday. Will your leader be back from the United States? Because he's got a big appointment in America. He's going before a congressional committee in Washington to talk about is freedom of speech under threat in Britain. Why is he going to America to talk about it?
Because it's such a massive issue. All of us are concerned about freedom of speech, freedom of expression. I visited Lucy Connolly in prison. Mercifully, she is now.
Was jailed for
she was jailed for an offensive tweet. It was vile, but she regretted it. And took it down immediately. By the way, that Keir Starmer over 10 years ago said when he was DPP, someone in that situation shouldn't be prosecuted or jailed. Yet another two-tier here. But Nigel's going to Washington to testify to this hearing about the state of free speech in the United Kingdom. I'm quite sure that if he gets the chance, he'll bring up the issue of Lucy Connolly as one example. And there's then all the issues around the Online Safety Act, which came into sort of full force just recently, and which was a well-intentioned mess because it's not going to do what it set out to do. Primarily because people can so easily go on to the dark web through virtual private networks.
The Labour Party accuse you of meddling and risking young people's mental health in a sense because they're saying it will enable them to continue to, if you scrap this bill.
The best way to deal with mental health actually is to get busy, get working, and stop sort of labelling people with all these things and saying, oh dear, you can't go to work. Actually get busy, stop navel-gazing. That's what we've got to do. We've got to show people you need a bit of resilience. Sometimes you have a bad day. Tough, bluntly, that's life. And I think it's really important that we lead the way on that.
Now, we saw, it was reported at the weekend, that a number of other councils plan to follow the example of Epping Forest and challenge the government, the Home Office, over migrant hotels.
Yes.
Are they right to do that, bearing in mind Epping
They are indeed.
has
Every situation. Well, every situation is slightly different, but I can exclusively reveal to you, Andrew, this morning that one of our councils will be submitting injunctions by tomorrow evening.
Right.
That's the information that I've got. They've carried out a
reform-led council.
Reform-led council will be submitting injunctions, we believe, by tomorrow evening.
Can you tell us which one?
Not at this stage, but it's fast-moving. There's a lot of legal work being done, and every situation is slightly different, so in some cases it may not work, but look, we're doing everything we can. That's what people voted us to do, whether it's find the savings, look after their interests, defend and protect our women and girls. That's what reform will do.
OK, so they get kicked out of the hotel. Where do they go? Are they then going to go in council properties?
Well,
Are they then going to be
what the government should do is listen and learn from reform's policy. We need to detain these people in disused facilities, remote facilities, nowhere near any residents.
But you won't tell us where you're going to put them.
They will be remote. That's what we will clearly say. And because we're not going to go through a whole list of places and tick them off. Otherwise, you end up with nowhere left in the United Kingdom. But they will be remote, away from residents. That's the key thing. That's how you keep people safe. And this is really important. And we're all worried about safety, whether it's outside hotels. Look at this. This is a new summer toy I've got, Andrew. This is a device to stop someone stealing my phone when you're walking down the streets, because phone theft is so huge.
Well, are you linking that directly to migrants?
I'm not actually. I'm just linking it directly to the breakdown in law and order in this country. Britain is lawless. We've been running a campaign through the summer highlighting this, and regrettably, there have been serious incidents allegedly carried out by people who are illegally claiming asylum, some of them living in these hotels. Of course, not everybody, no one's saying that, but you have to keep our residents, our women and girls safe, and they're not at the moment in some areas.
What about the idea from some that you, in Reform, are deliberately fomenting the unrest outside these hotels?
Absolute twaddle. We've always said that any protest should be lawful and peaceful. We all recognise and want that. But actually, isn't it interesting that the first judge at Epping, he recognised the power of lawful, peaceful protest. And he recognised that actually it was a genuine expression, legitimate expression by mums and dads about the safety of their children. And I think that's what democracy is all about, where if you're not happy with something, then you can speak up about it. That's what free speech is all about.
The judge, when they chapped out the Epping Forest case, made the point that if these migrants are moved out, this will provoke civil unrest. So better to keep them safe in the.
Well, how's that working out so far, Mr. Bean? I mean, talk about Bean by name and Bean by nature. I mean, seriously, we know that there are protests going on all up and down the country. There was a significant protest in Skegness, at the Skegness Hotel.
This is your own work.
In my own constituency yesterday, and these are going up and down the country. So the proof is in the pudding. At the moment, people have had enough. And that's why we're leading in the polls by 15% in the poll out in the last couple of days, ahead of Labour, because people recognise that people shouldn't be here legally. They need to be detained, they need to be deported, and they should be held in remote places until that happens. And you've got to rapidly process people and reject their false, fake applications. And what we've seen with Labour is the number of crossings is up 50% this year. Hotel use is up as opposed to down. They're now using the law to say that the rights of migrants and asylum seekers, that outweighs and trumps the rights of British citizens. And their backlog of applications has gone up. So at every metric, they failed.
The Archbishop of York, who is currently the most senior cleric in the Church of England, in the Anglican faith, has given an interview today, and he's pushed way back on Nigel Farage. He's singled him out and named him, said the solution being offered by reform does not help. It doesn't solve the problem of why these people are coming here in the first place. What do you say to the Archbishop of York? Is he not speaking for a quiet majority?
Well, regrettably, he's speaking for a declining congregation. I suggest the Archbishop focuses on the problems within the Church of England and fill the vacancy and stop worrying about things that are way beyond his remit, i.e. international immigration policies. That's the role of elected politicians.
Well, not archbishops. Bishops are in the House of Lords. They are politicians in all but name.
They're not elected. Legislation is created and voted on first by the House of Commons.
But he's reflecting a view that that reform, by talking constantly about the small boats, by talking constantly about what's going on in these hotels, that there are some people who are very uneasy about it.
Yeah, and they're generally the sort of metropolitan literati who are living nowhere near where these hotels are. They have no idea of the concerns, the anxieties, the jeering, the leering, what goes on up and down outside primary schools and secondary schools in some of these areas. And we're just telling it as it is. And I know that makes some people uncomfortable or tough. Maybe that's what people want us to do. Maybe that's the reason we're leading in every single national poll.
Are you saying that the presence of migrants in these hotels around the country, 32,000, is provoking civil unrest?
Well, we don't want civil unrest.
But are you saying it is happening?
Well, what you're seeing is lawful, peaceful protest. The vast, vast majority of what we're seeing has been lawful and peaceful. In fact, the only time there seems to be any trouble is when the vile folk from the sort of Antifa and the socialist worker folk rock up. Who on earth paying them? I don't know. But it's funny, isn't it, why that's when it turns a little bit nasty, when they rock up. Otherwise, mums in pink T-shirts, peacefully protesting, singing, dancing outside something like the Epping Hotel. That's what democracy is all about.
Just got a couple of minutes. Quickly tell me, your party conference in Birmingham Friday, 24 hours?
Well, no, it's actually up to 48 hours. Right. So it starts on Friday morning, finishes Saturday late afternoon. It's going to be absolutely huge.
Any big surprises coming out? Any big defections?
Well, let's wait and see, Andrew. I couldn't exclusively reveal it even to you, but it will be huge. And also we've got the business community is getting very engaged with the reform.
Tell me about who's sponsoring the conference. Is it
well,
something to do with Heathrow Airport?
We've got a variety of sponsors, but Heathrow Airport are sponsoring one particular area. Obviously, they're looking to invest huge sums of private money in a third runway. I mean, it is extraordinary. Part of the problem in this country, they've just revealed today, they've spent over £800 million so far in recent years on planning costs alone. A bit like the madness of
third runway.
For the third runway. A bit like the Lower Thames crossing. They've spent over £1 billion on planning costs. They haven't put a spade or a shovel in the ground. This country, we have to stop all of this ludicrous nonsense. It's what I call the battery, where bat tunnels are more important than actually getting infrastructure built.
Now, coming up, the education Bridget Phillipson is coming in to discuss school attendance and appalling pupil behaviour, which is having an impact on how much teaching kids are genuinely getting. I'm also asking why white working class kids are still being left behind. This is the Camila Tominey Show. That's not her, it's me. I'm Andrew Pierce, only on GB News.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Hello, there's still the risk of heavy rain and thunderstorms across central western parts of the Mediterranean over the next few days. Elsewhere it should be largely dry and sunny, largely dry across Madeira, the Canary Islands, but you can see the risk of rain across parts of Spain, Portugal, into France, northern Italy, seeing some heavy downpours and thunderstorms. A few showers possible towards Greece as well, but Turkey largely dry with plenty of sunny spells. Temperatures still in the 30s here, and it remains similar over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Welcome back to the Camilla Tominey Show with me, Andrew Pierce. Now, we're waiting for the Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, but joining me in the studio again is the broadcaster and journalist, Claire Muldoon. Claire, 28 years today.
Yes.
Princess Diana died. I can still vividly remember I was getting up to go and do some broadcasting. I was working on the Times then at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, had the radio on, couldn't believe what I was hearing. And I actually thought, oh dear, this is terrible for the BBC. Some form of rehearsal for the death of a senior royal has gone out on air in error. And then I heard the immortal words, if you're just tuning in, the Princess Diana, Princess of Wales, and I knew then this was going to be a week that was going to potentially imperil the royal family. And by God, they had a bad week.
But what they did was actually it united the country.
Did.
You remember?
I do.
I was in London at the time, actually. My parents were down visiting and we were staying not far in St James.
Yeah.
And we got the news through and, gosh, we couldn't believe it.
No.
And Cardinal Basil Hume at the time was the head of the Catholic Church in England and Wales. And he said, you know, obviously it's incredibly sad, but he said it's actually opened the door now for the King, which it did to marry Camilla.
Yeah.
And I remember getting off the tube to go visit Kensington Palace. And I think that was the first time, Andrew, I think we've seen any monument or any testament to any public figure like we did in the terms of leaving the flowers there and all the messages to both the princes, Harry and William. And then Tony Blair said he intervened and got the Queen from Balmoral.
Yeah, but he also, the great communicator, the People's Princess, which is a great phrase.
I mean, it really was. And, you know, through all of that, through her death and the majesty of her funeral, which was absolutely, it was magnificent. And again, it shows us as a country at our best.
Yeah, and we heard all sorts of stories about the princess that we didn't know about, some of the work she'd done behind the scenes.
Which were, there were loads.
Yeah.
Loads of charitable organisations, lots of hope. She brought lots of hope to people. She was a very magnanimous person in the way she treated people.
Extraordinary that she was only 36 when she died.
I can't believe
just
that.
A couple of months older than me, in fact. Yeah. It was just so staggering. You know what I think, if you think today, Claire, and by the way, that week was extraordinary. I was in the Times. I moved from Parliament, where I was based, into the Newsroom, which was such an amazing... The rows over should they fly the flag at half-mast, and should she come back in a royal flight?
I know.
And should they... Then the royals wanted to give it back HRH, and the Spencer family said you should never have taken it off her, keep it. It was extraordinary.
It was extraordinary.
But I wonder now, if Diana was alive, I think Prince William and Prince Harry would still be speaking to each other.
They really,
She'd have knocked their heads together.
Absolutely.
Like a loving mum.
Absolutely. And that's what was lacking in those boys' lives, the love of their mum and the ability of their mum to be able to go to their mum at any time. And it's so important, absolutely so important.
And we hope still, I mean, Harry's coming here very soon.
He is.
And maybe
him and Trump should go together.
You're challenging. Now, that's Claire we're doing. I think our VIP guest is arriving any second now, Secretary of State for Education. Just finally, were you a great fan of Diana's?
I loved Diana, and she filled the pages of both Hello and OK. And it was at the time of print journalism. It was great. And those pictures, they sold a story. They sold her soul and her love.
Delighted to say in the studio, Bridget Phillipson, Secretary of State for Education, joins me. Secretary of State, good morning. Can I ask you, because it is the 28th anniversary, where you were when you heard that she died?
I do remember it incredibly well, because I remember my mum waking me up to come upstairs to say she'd seen the news on the television. I was a teenager at the time then, and it was a remarkable... I mean, she was such a wonderful person. It was such a remarkable moment, and it's something that has always stayed with me.
Now, did you have a good summer?
I did, thank you. Did you?
I did. Now, I'm glad you had a good summer, because your government hasn't had a good summer, has it? Let's be honest. In July, end of July, poll ratings 23%. One poll now down to 20. Another poll giving Reform a 15-point lead. What's gone wrong?
Look, being in government's hard. You've got to make choices, and some of them are tough. Sometimes not always popular in the here and now, but it's about doing what's right by the country in the long run. And we have made different choices as a government. The things that I'm talking about this morning around focusing on school attendance and behaviour, for example, and areas where...
I will come to that, but let me just ask you, in the last few weeks, Minister, we've seen 1 million more people on universal credit, no requirement to work. The number of people on benefits, 6.5 million, up 500,000 on Labour's watch. I thought you were all about growth. There's none.
We are. I mean, you know, I'm impatient for change. I know that people want to see change. They voted for it last July. They want to see it in their communities. And I'm just as impatient as they are to make that happen. Now, I think everybody knows that there are lots of big challenges we face as a country, some of them pretty long-standing. That will take time. I know that's frustrating, but it will take time. However, I am confident that by the time of the next election, people will see even more being delivered in their communities. There's already progress, whether that's on bringing down NHS waiting lists, more police on our streets, more investment in our schools, expanding childcare that starts from tomorrow for parents. So big changes that have only come about because of a Labour government. Is there more to do? Absolutely there is.
Your colleague, Angela Rayner, you've got a colleague called Matthew Pennycook, a planning minister, said it's not a story. Well, with respect, Secretary of State, this story broke last Sunday. It's still a front-page story 8 days on. What do you say about it? She is said to have legally avoided £40,000 stamp duty in the way she designated the new property in Hove, which, by the way, is 270 miles from her constituency. It's apparently now her principal residence.
So her principal residence is in her constituency. Angela Rayner has also said that she's followed all of the rules and requirements of her. She said that in terms of all of the matters that have been discussed on the front page of newspapers. I would just add that she's, of course, as a free citizen in this country, entitled to spend her money as she chooses. If she chooses to buy a flat, that's absolutely her right. It's the right of anyone to spend their money on what they choose. But she said that everything she's done has been in line with the rules.
Of course. Now, let's just remind you, back in the summer last year, it was within the rules, but Sir Keir Starmer accepted £32,000 worth of freebies from a man called Lord Ali. You took money from Lord Ali. A number of your cabinet colleagues took money from Lord Ali. All within the rules, Secretary of State, but the perception was terrible, and I would argue that the government's political difficulties began in a big way and your popularity started to fall. Because it's perception, Minister.
No,
it may be legal,
understand.
but it's perception.
No, I understand that. And, you know, political parties of all persuasions over many, many years have taken donations from individuals who want to make a contribution to their party in many, many forms. But of course, you know, there were problems around what you've described, the way that the appearance that gave. And as a government, every day, what we're getting on with, what we're focused on, is how we deliver for working people in our country. We know that lots of people are still facing big pressures around the cost of living. We know that there are worries, for example, around the use of asylum hotels. That's been the topic of much discussion in recent weeks. We know that there is more to do to turn our country around. But I'm genuinely positive and optimistic about our country's future. Look, there are big challenges. Some of them go back many, many years. I'm not just going to blame the Conservatives, but that's where we are. But I am positive that our country's best days lie ahead of us. I think we're a brilliant country. Okay. There is so much we can do to harness the entrepreneurialism, the brilliance of our people, if we work together, if government gets behind it.
But, Minister, on this perception business, Jeremy Hunt criticised, he was Chancellor of the Exchequer, because it emerged he bought some properties and he was accused by a very senior Labour politician of exploiting Tory tax loopholes to save stamp duty. Who was that minister, shadow minister? Angela Rayner.
OK.
Has she not done exactly the same, exploited loopholes and official guidance to save £40,000 in stamp duty? Would you have done it?
Well, I split my time between my constituency and London, like all MPs, and the same is true of Angela Rayner.
You'd be conscious of how it would look if you appeared to manipulate the rules to save £40,000 in tax. And you're the Housing Secretary.
Look, Angela Rayner has set out, as a matter of public record, that she believes she has done everything that is necessary, everything that's been asked of her, and in line with all of the rules in terms of all of the coverage that we've seen over the last few days.
Last question on this, because I think you were challenged on this. Rushanara Ali was the Homelessness Minister, and you said everything she's done is within the rules. She resigned a couple of days later because it emerged she had made tenants, she evicted some tenants, and then she dramatically increased the rent. It was in the rules, she said. She resigned a couple of days later. And you defended her at the time.
She made that decision. She made the decision to step back. But, of course, every case is different. Every case has its own merits, and Angela Rayner has set out her position.
In classrooms, 7 minutes in every 30 is lost to bad behaviour. 45 days a year, children lose to bad behaviour. Hundreds, if not thousands, of teachers are leaving the profession every year because of bad behaviour. What are you doing about it?
Behaviour is a massive challenge alongside attendance. You're right that it causes disruption to the whole classroom. It stops children from learning. It's a big problem that teachers raise with me in every school I visit. It's why today we're announcing new attendance behaviour hubs with new attendance and behaviour ambassadors leading that work across schools in our country.
It's about parents, isn't it, a lot of it?
It's about all of us. So, you know, it's exciting that we have the start of a new school term. That's an exciting opportunity for parents, for children, but also the chance to have a stronger start. So yes, it's about parents making sure their children are regularly in school and they're backing schools around behaviour policy too. It's about government and what more we should be doing to support schools, and that's obviously around investment, but other areas where we're delivering, for example, the attendance and behaviour hubs, but schools too. So some schools manage this better than others. There's difference between schools, and I want schools to learn from the best, to share good practice, to work together. We've made really strong progress on attendance over the last year. We've got almost 150,000 fewer children missing school on a regular basis than a year ago. That shows what we can achieve if we work together. But now, at the start of the school term, let's have a real push where all of us, including parents, pull together.
White working class children, particularly boys, are still being failed by the education system. I know you've only been in power 13 months. What are you doing about that?
I care very deeply about that. It's my background. It's the background of the community that I represent. And it is a national scandal that for so many years we haven't been talking about this topic, we haven't been taking it seriously, and we've been prepared to accept that kids from white working class backgrounds don't go on to get good GCSEs, good life chances, good outcomes. Later on this year, I'll be setting out a schools white paper on behalf of the government that will take further action to address this. But the first step is we've got to acknowledge the challenge we face. We can't be afraid of talking about this. We've got to confront it head on and taking action to make sure that all communities, all families, all young people see that education is for them, because there is a big disconnection in many communities around the value of education, the value of going to school. And part of that is because it's not necessarily seen as the route to a good life and to a good job. We've got to turn that around.
No regrets over the schools that have closed down because you've whacked private schools with VAT?
Well, sadly, some of the schools that have closed down were schools that were experiencing financial trouble over many, many years. They're private businesses. It's up to them to manage their money like any other business. But we've actually got more private schools now than last year. So there's actually been an increase. There's always been a turnover of schools, some open, some close. We did make that decision to impose VAT on fees. That's because if we're talking about the life chances of children in our country, my first concern is the kids that we were just talking about who don't get the chance of a great education, how we pay for that and make state education brilliant.
Thank you to all my guests today. It's been a pleasure for me to do the Camilla Tominey Show for the first time. Thanks to you at home for watching and listening. The show will be back at the same time next week with more straight-talking interviews and punchy political debate.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Well, the week ahead is going to remain unsettled for all of us. We'll see further spells of rain and showers, and it generally will be quite breezy. So as we enter the weekend, we've still got this area of low pressure close by, still tightly packed isobars, especially across parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, indicating some windy conditions here. And all in all, across many western parts of the UK, we'll see further spells of rain and showers, and the rain potentially turning quite heavy later on across parts of Scotland. We do have a warning coming into force during the early hours across southwestern Scotland, so do take some extra care if you have got some early journeys here. Across the south and east, however, generally dry and clear as we end the night, and for all of us it's a fairly mild one as we start Monday morning. So we do start off still with this area of rain across parts of Scotland. Could give a fairly tricky commute in places. There will be some sunshine across western Scotland, but further showers following on here quite quickly. And really for much of Northern Ireland and Northern England, it is going to be a morning of sunshine and showers. Similar story for Wales and the West Country, but over towards the east of England, we will start off relatively dry with some sunshine, but the cloud will bubble up here as the day goes on. And for most of the UK, really, it's going to be a day of sunny spells and scattered showers. Some of these showers will be quite heavy and potentially thundery with a risk of hail in places, but they'll be still moving through fairly quickly on a fairly brisk wind. In the sunnier moments, it won't feel too bad out there for the first day of September. We will see highs reaching around 21 or 22 degrees in a few spots. So then moving on into Tuesday, a bright start across many central and eastern parts of the country, but down towards the far southwest we see another band of rain move in. Some of this rain will be quite heavy, generally given a fairly wet afternoon across parts of England and Wales. Scotland and Northern Ireland continuing to see another day of sunshine and showers, and that unsettled regime continues until the middle of the week with temperatures around average for early September.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on...
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me,